It was a bright morning in the city. The sun was shining over the golden gates of Ashcroft Manor, a mansion so large it seemed like a palace. Inside, the floors gleamed, the chandeliers sparkled, and every corner smelled of polished wood and fresh flowers. Eleanor Summers, a young white maid of 28, entered the mansion carrying her cleaning supplies. Today felt different. She had worked here for a year, but today, something was about to change. Mr. Darius Blackwell, the 70-year-old billionaire, was sitting in his leather armchair in the study. His silver hair gleamed under the soft morning light. Despite his age, he carried an air of strength and mystery. Eleanor quietly entered the room to dust the shelves, careful not to disturb him. But Darius, sensing her presence, looked up. Their eyes met. A quiet spark flickered, unnoticed by the world outside, yet it changed everything inside that room. "Good morning, Miss Summers," Darius said, his voice deep and calm. Eleanor curtsied slightly, hiding her nervous smile. "Good morning, sir," she replied softly. She tried to focus on her work, but she couldn't help noticing the kindness in his eyes. "You've been here a year now," he continued. "I don't think I've properly thanked you for all your hard work." Eleanor felt her cheeks warm. "It's my job, sir. I enjoy helping." Darius nodded, a small smile forming. "That's what I wanted to hear. Sometimes, people forget what real care looks like." A week later, Darius left a small gift on Eleanor's cleaning cart, a single white rose with a note that read, "For the one who brightens my mornings." Eleanor's hands trembled as she picked it up. She had never expected a gesture like this from her wealthy, mysterious employer. Something inside her shifted. She felt noticed. Days passed. Eleanor and Darius began talking more. One afternoon, Darius invited her to walk in the mansion's garden. The flowers were in full bloom, the fountain sparkling. Darius spoke about his past, his regrets, his loneliness, and Eleanor listened, her heart quietly moving. "I never thought I'd have someone to talk to," he said softly, looking at her. Eleanor's heart skipped a beat. She realized that this man, despite his power and wealth, was as human as anyone else. Vulnerable, longing for connection. As the days turned into weeks, Eleanor found herself laughing at Darius's jokes, sharing small stories from her life, and feeling a bond growing. Darius, who had always kept people at a distance, found himself opening up in ways he hadn't in decades. One evening, as the sun set in golden hues, their hands brushed accidentally. A spark of electricity ran through both of them. Neither spoke, but their eyes said everything. This was the beginning of something neither of them could ignore. Darius began noticing Eleanor in ways he hadn't noticed anyone before. The tilt of her head, her gentle laugh, the way she carefully polished the floors. Eleanor, in turn, noticed his soft expressions, the warmth behind his commanding eyes, and the kindness hidden beneath his wealth and age. Their moments together were brief but meaningful. Every smile, every shared secret, built a quiet intimacy that neither dared to name yet. One afternoon, dark clouds covered the sky, and rain poured heavily over Ashcroft Manor. Eleanor was wiping the large windows when Darius appeared behind her with a soft smile. "Come on, let's take a break," he said. He handed her a cup of hot cocoa and led her to the library. Outside, the rain created a rhythm on the glass. Inside, the warmth and the smell of books surrounded them. Eleanor sipped her cocoa, feeling her heart beat faster. There was a quiet comfort in being near him, a closeness she had never felt with anyone before. Darius told a story from his younger days, a funny mistake he had made in a business deal. Eleanor laughed, her laughter ringing clearly in the quiet library. Darius chuckled, eyes twinkling. For the first time in years, he forgot about his wealth, his loneliness, and the responsibilities that weighed him down. All that mattered was this moment, with Eleanor's laugh lighting up the room. Later, Eleanor told Darius about her life, her dreams, her struggles, and her small victories. Darius listened carefully, genuinely interested. "You've been through so much," he said softly, "and yet you shine." Eleanor's eyes watered slightly. She never expected a man like him to care so much. At that moment, she realized that she was not just the maid in his house. She was someone he trusted, someone he valued deeply. The next evening, while Eleanor was arranging fresh flowers in the grand hallway, Darius appeared beside her. "These flowers, they remind me of you," he said quietly. Eleanor's face turned red, and her hands froze. Slowly, he reached out and lightly touched her arm. The simple touch sent a shiver through her body. Neither spoke, but the air between them seemed charged. Something unspoken had begun, a connection that neither could ignore. The following weekend, Darius invited Eleanor to the private garden behind the mansion. The flowers were blooming, and the scent of roses filled the air. "I rarely let anyone here," he said, opening the ornate iron gate. Eleanor stepped inside, feeling like she had entered another world. They walked slowly, sharing stories, their shoulders brushing occasionally. Each brush of skin made their hearts beat faster. Darius stopped under a large oak tree and looked at her. "I don't want this moment to end," he said softly. After the garden walk, they returned to the mansion. Eleanor was tired, but her heart was full. Darius offered her tea in the lounge, and they sat near the fireplace. The flames cast a warm glow on their faces. They didn't need many words. Just being near each other felt enough. That night, Eleanor realized that what she felt for Darius was deeper than admiration. It was something more, something she had never expected. Eleanor tried to focus on her work the next day, but thoughts of Darius lingered. She knew he was older, and society would never understand. And yet, her heart felt drawn to him inexplicably. Darius, meanwhile, found himself thinking about her constantly. He had spent decades avoiding attachments, fearing judgment and vulnerability. But Eleanor had changed something inside him. For the first time in many years, he felt alive, and he couldn't let it go. One late evening, Darius asked Eleanor to help him choose a painting for his study. They leaned close to examine the canvas, their shoulders touching. Neither moved away. "Eleanor," he whispered. She looked up, heart pounding. Their eyes met, and the room seemed to disappear. A silent understanding passed between them, an attraction that neither could deny, yet neither was ready to speak aloud. That evening, the rain tapped gently on the mansion windows. Eleanor was folding laundry in the lounge when Darius entered with a blanket. "You look tired," he said softly, draping it over her shoulders. Their hands brushed. Eleanor felt a warmth spread through her chest. I can't stop thinking about you," Darius admitted quietly. Eleanor's breath caught. She had been feeling the same, but hearing it from him made her heart race. For a moment the world outside, the age difference, the gossip, the mansion, vanished. It was just them. The next morning, they were in the grand kitchen making breakfast. Eleanor handed Darius a cup of coffee, and their fingers brushed. Darius hesitated, then gently held her hand. Eleanor froze, then relaxed, letting him hold it. Neither spoke, but the connection was undeniable. In that simple touch, there was trust, care, and something deeper, a spark that neither could ignore. Later that evening, Darius invited Eleanor to walk in the mansion gardens again. Lanterns lit the path, casting soft glows on the flowers. "I never thought I'd feel this way at my age," Darius said softly. Eleanor looked at him, her eyes full of emotion. "Neither did I," she whispered. They walked silently, shoulders occasionally brushing, hearts quietly speaking the words they couldn't say aloud yet. One night, Darius invited Eleanor to his study. The room was dim, lit only by a small lamp. "Eleanor, I've spent decades hiding my feelings," he admitted. "But I can't anymore." Eleanor's eyes glistened. "I feel the same," she whispered. They shared a long, silent look, understanding that what they felt was real. No one else mattered at that moment. Just the two of them, together, vulnerable and honest. The rain poured outside, but inside the mansion, time seemed to stop. Darius gently held Eleanor's face, looking deep into her eyes. "Eleanor," he whispered. She leaned in. Their lips met in a soft, tender kiss. It wasn't just passion, it was comfort, trust, and a promise of care. In that moment, the world outside disappeared, leaving only their hearts intertwined. The mansion staff whispered behind closed doors, and the city gossip spread quickly. People couldn't believe that Darius, a respected 70-year-old billionaire, was falling for Eleanor, the young maid. Letters arrived, emails, even distant family members calling to warn him. Eleanor felt the weight of judgment pressing on her. She wanted to hide, but Darius took her hand and said, "Let them talk. What we feel is ours, not theirs." To escape the gossip, Darius arranged a private dinner on the terrace. Candles flickered as they sat close, sharing stories of their lives. Eleanor laughed at Darius's old anecdotes, and he smiled at her youthful energy. For a few hours, the world outside didn't exist. It was just them, learning each other's hearts and souls. One evening, a disagreement erupted. Eleanor wanted to leave the mansion for a short trip, worried about society's judgment. Darius felt she was overthinking. Voices rose, frustration showed, tears flowed. But in the quiet afterward, Darius held her, whispering, "I love you. That doesn't change. No argument can touch what's real." Eleanor leaned into him, realizing love sometimes meant patience and understanding. To strengthen their bond, Darius planned a secret weekend at a countryside villa. Rolling hills, fresh air, and quiet moments away from judgment allowed them to explore their feelings. They held hands while walking, shared stories, and laughed without restraint. The weekend felt like a new world, safe, private, and theirs alone. Returning to the city, they had to attend a charity gala. Darius felt confident, but Eleanor was anxious about prying eyes. Cameras flashed, whispers followed, and some guests stared disapprovingly. Darius held her hand under the table, whispering, "Your presence makes me proud, not ashamed." Eleanor smiled, feeling braver with him by her side. One late night in the mansion garden, Darius stopped Eleanor under the moonlight. "Eleanor," he said softly, "I don't care what the world says. I love you truly." Eleanor's eyes shimmered. "I love you too, Darius," she whispered. They embraced, feeling the weight of years and judgments lift, replaced by trust and genuine affection. Despite their love, Eleanor worried about the future. "What if society never accepts us?" she asked. Darius stroked her hair. "Then we live for ourselves. Our love doesn't need permission. We write our own story." Eleanor nodded, realizing that courage wasn't absence of fear. It was choosing love anyway. One afternoon, rain poured unexpectedly. They ran into the mansion courtyard, laughing. Darius twirled Eleanor in the rain. Water drenched them, but neither cared. For the first time, they felt completely free. No roles, no judgment, only love. Slowly, a few trusted friends noticed their bond. Instead of judgment, they offered support. Eleanor felt relief. For the first time, it seemed possible to merge their worlds, her life and his mansion life, without shame or fear. On a quiet evening, Darius held Eleanor in the grand library. "No matter what comes, we face it together," he promised. Eleanor leaned her head on his chest. "Together," she whispered, and in that promise, they found strength, love, and hope for all the days ahead. Darius and Eleanor were invited to the city's annual charity ball. This time, they decided to attend together openly. Cameras flashed and whispers grew. But this time, Eleanor held her head high. Darius squeezed her hand and said, "No matter what anyone thinks, we are proud of who we are." Eleanor smiled, feeling the power of love over judgment. News outlets noticed the unlikely couple. Articles appeared. Billionaire finds love with Maid, and social media exploded. At first, Eleanor feared the attention, but Darius whispered, "Let them see. Love is meant to be shared." Slowly, admiration replaced judgment, and some even called their love inspiring. Darius's children and relatives finally met Eleanor. There was tension at first, doubts and questions. But as Eleanor shared her kindness, patience, and intelligence, hearts softened. Darius's family saw not a maid, but the woman who loved him genuinely. One evening, rain poured over the mansion garden again. Eleanor looked at Darius. "I was scared, but I trust us now," she said. Darius held her close. "Love is never easy, but it's ours, forever." The rain became a backdrop to their heartfelt embrace, symbolizing cleansing of doubts and fears. After the events, the mansion felt peaceful. They cooked together, laughed, and shared stories late into the night. Eleanor realized that love wasn't about perfection, age, or status. It was about companionship, trust, and mutual respect. Darius decided it was time. In the library, surrounded by books and memories, he knelt. "Eleanor, will you marry me? Not as a maid, not as a status, but as the woman I love." Tears filled Eleanor's eyes. "Yes, Darius. Yes." Their love reached a new level, binding their hearts forever. News of their engagement spread. Surprisingly, most reactions were positive. Society saw the genuine love between Darius and Eleanor. Many were inspired, realizing that love transcends age, race, and status. They prepared for an intimate wedding in the mansion garden. Eleanor's friends and Darius's family worked together. For the first time, both worlds felt united. Every decoration, every flower, every detail spoke of love, respect, and harmony. The wedding day arrived. Sunlight filtered through the garden, creating golden glows. Eleanor walked down the aisle, Darius waiting with a proud, loving smile. Vows were exchanged, tears fell, and laughter echoed. They were no longer just a billionaire and a maid. They were partners for life. Years later, the mansion was full of warmth, love, and laughter. Their bond had grown stronger. Society no longer mattered. Darius and Eleanor proved that love isn't defined by age or status. It is defined by hearts willing to embrace it, no matter the challenges.